Hey, welcome to the program, everybody. We are back live Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It's a courtesy of ERT Radio. That's ERRT Radio. Go to Mixler.com, set up your account there. Ron runs that. There's a sticker right there to let you know. ERT, ERRT Radio, Mixler.com. Subscribe there, follow them, and then you can listen to our show along with Into the Outer Realms. Joey and I moonlight on that occasionally. Dimensions of the Supernatural with Maureen. And Ron, he's got his drive time ones where one of these times we're just waiting. He's going to hit a deer. It's going to be, and then that'll be one where the ratings will just go off the roof. So pay attention to those. That's cool. Like I said, but ours we're rebroadcast every Wednesday at 11. So we've got with us Jack Cary, author. He is the founder and current director of Paranormal Intelligence Agency. And I'll put up the website there for people to see it. He is a regular guest on several programs that are on Gaia, and so he definitely author of I know of at least 2, maybe 3 books. I said if he'll correct me if I'm wrong on that one. So we'll get in there. We're going to be talking pretty much the state, paranormal, aliens, who's an alien? Are you an alien watching us? Or are you in a UFO? Are you currently in a UFO and you're an alien watching the show? Well, 1, welcome. 2, why don't you make yourself known instead of being a lurker? But we'll sit back here. Like I said, get the intro going here. We'll get to the show. Jack Cary is up right after this.
Welcome to the Three Beards podcast. My name is Craig, along with Austin and Chris.
Passed to a new generation of Americans born in this century.
Let me out.
I'm afraid that is why
justice and honor in Massachusetts colony?
Gentlemen, we're back.
Hello.
We're back.
Hello.
Oh,
Hey, MA.
man. Boing. Yeah, just for
you.
Yeah, just for you. Boing. In a completely platonic, non-homoerotic way. Hey,
Yeah,
M.A. Allen. Boing.
This was he requested it, so what
That's
can I
right.
tell you? I mean, what do you want from me? Okay.
I know. Yeah, see, we got it. I know the censor button works really good. That's right.
I love the censor button.
Yeah, we have to work on a skit like that where it's just the unnecessary censoring, where it's just we censor all the wrong words.
You got to bring in a guest that will go along with it. So,
yep.
So
that's gonna take some pre-planning. That's asking a lot.
Yeah, that is asking a lot.
Yeah, that is asking a ton. No, but this last week, man. Oh my God, has it been busy?
Yes.
It flew, and before long, I'm looking last night. It's 11 o'clock, and I still hadn't made the show. So I quickly do it. I send it off. I'm thinking, man, I told the guest I was going to have it to him a couple days prior. Here I am. It's like that straight, getting ready to strike midnight. And I'm like, send.
Must have been fun the next day.
Oh,
what's up, Lulu?
Yeah. Today was a little fun, a little tired. So, but enough of this chit chat. Let's bring the man on. Jack, how are you, sir?
Which is
I am well. How are you folks?
Wonderful.
Doing good.
Complaining.
Doing really good. So now, did I get it right? Is it 3 or 4 books? I'm looking at
4.
Okay.
This is the 4th one right here. This is
that the Bigfoot one?
This is not. It's called the Enoch Code, and as you can tell, it's a long one. It's 385 pages.
Nice.
But it's all about an ancient occult code that I discovered early on in my paranormal research that kind of runs through a lot of ancient, we'll say 15th, 14th century paintings. And come to discover that a lot of these artists that were painting these paintings were actually adepts in different occult orders. And these orders all had this code, this ancient code that stretches all the way back to the time of Enoch and his interaction with what we can only describe as being a non-human intelligence. So that's out there now, and I hope everybody checks it out.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say, you need to talk a little bit about that. I mean, I don't want you to give the whole thing away, but, let's do the reading rainbow tease.
Spoiler alert!
Spoiler alert. Well, it all goes back to the book of Genesis and the book of Enoch, which the book of Enoch is the oldest, one of the oldest texts that we have in humanity today. And it was only rediscovered in Axiom in Ethiopia way back during the Crusades by an English nobleman and brought back to Europe and translated. And this book actually holds so many occult secrets. It's almost like the entire human occult tradition began with this text and continued its way through history according to what happened in that book. And that book is all about interaction with what he called fallen angels, but today we would describe them as being aliens.
Now that guy you were talking about, that wasn't Francis Bacon by any chance, was it?
No, it wasn't Francis Bacon. It was Sir Lawrence. Oh, I'll think of his name here in just a second. You caught me off guard. But Sir Francis Bacon was supposedly one of the guys who wrote, Shakespeare.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, yeah.
Like I coined it. It's like it wasn't Bill with a wheat sack.
Right. It could be that Oak Island has some of those writings. You know what I mean? Like that's one of the theories that's out there, is that Oak Island has like a lot of stuff from Bacon.
Now, since you said Oak Island, I was going to talk about this with the guys anyway. I just started watching the Blind Frog Ranch show, and best way I can describe this is it's Skinwalker Ranch meets The Curse of Oak Island meets Gold Rush. Is the best way to describe this thing. I'm like, all I'm waiting for is, especially like The Curse of Oak Island. I mean, the thing about it is it's like, could this be the lost Templar treasure? The lost works of Shakespeare? Is this Cleopatra's last resting place? I mean, you go there and you're like, dude, just dig a hole already. The Blind Frog Ranch guys are the same way. I'm looking at my wife. I'm like, no spoilers here, but they go through these things like they're trying to get into this cavern and they're drilling holes. They're like, this is where we know the cavern is. I'm like, okay, so drill a hole into it. Well, we're trying to find an access point. And then they're driving around and all of a sudden, like, I think I've found an entrance. It's this cave. It looks like an old like mine thing. I'm like, why don't you guys start there? I'm like, yeah, you're doing all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, I know it's for TV editing, but my God, is it driving me crazy? I mean,
Right.
this last one, they discovered iridium on the thing,
Oh,
valuable. So they're like, no, we're not going to mine that. No, we're going for this thing that we, this random logs that are tied together in this box formation down in the water. And I'm like, guys, that's going to fund your whole operation right there. You can,
Yeah.
I don't,
Right there. Just gone.
yeah. But like I said, I don't want to give too many spoilers, but yeah, there's just some stuff that I'm just like, and they're getting ready to do season 3, I guess, but it's just, I don't know.
That's how I feel about Skinwalker Ranch, because every time they dig a hole, something bad happens. And I'm like, if I'm that guy, if I'm Brandon Fugel, I'm hiring a team to drill a hole every 3 feet, 12 feet deep, the length of that ranch.
Yeah, well, can we all, since you said that, can we all agree? I know it's editing for TV. Okay, they're trying to figure out where the water went. It's like one of the first couple episodes, and so they fill it back up, and it all disappears again, and then they completely never talk about it again. It's like gone. It's like, did you guys ever discover where the water was disappearing to? No, we didn't talk about it ever again. And so, my two theories are: this show is a cover for what's going on, and it's being used, or there's really nothing there, and we're just being strung along.
Oh no! See, the CIA has their grips into Skinwalker Ranch to a huge degree, and not only that, but it was all of the scientists from Skinwalker Ranch and the intelligence agents that were at Skinwalker Ranch that all ended up being the guys that were part of the Pentagon's UFO program.
Yep.
So it's that whole connection that creates what we're calling the hitchhiker effect, which was published in the book Skinwalkers at the Pentagon by Colm Kelleher, who was the lead scientist, basically at Skinwalker Ranch and at the UFO program with the Pentagon. But there were 2 programs. One of them was studying the UFO phenomenon. The other program was studying the underlying paranormal aspect of the UFO phenomenon. And they would call that the hitchhiker effect. And this hitchhiker effect is so weird because to 100% of the personnel that were all inside of the Pentagon's UFO program experienced a wide array of paranormal activity that they apparently took home with them from their jobs. And not only that, it seemed to work like a virus. So like it would spread out from there. From there, like their neighbors would experience paranormal phenomenon, their neighbors' kids, their parents' friends. Like it was just this weirdest thing, and it would sort of dissipate as it went out into these circles. But it seemed to spread like a virus from the people that were actually connected to such a huge degree that they either had a real UFO, occurrence of some kind, or they had investigated UFOs to a deep degree of some kind. And a lot of them also experienced what we call today it's called the Havana syndrome, but they don't. In the UFO circles, it's just called profound brain damage. So a lot of these people that had direct UFO connection of some kind experienced a profound amount of brain damage.
I think they just mailed that description in. That's what it just feels like. It's like they could have come up with something cool and they just like mailed it in. We're just like, that's profound brain damage. I mean, let's come up with a better term. We got alien smacked. I mean, come on, something cool.
Something cool,
And alien herpes. Alien herpes is affecting everybody. Is it a specific craft or a specific that is causing these effects on individuals?
No. In fact, one of the individuals who is chronicled and sort of prioritized in this whole thing is a sailor that was aboard the Nimitz, who didn't see the actual craft themselves, but was shown the craft by somebody operating the radar system. So he like literally walks by, his buddy's like, hey, he gives him the elbow and says, hey, you got to look at this, you got to see this thing, this thing is not one of ours. And he experiences this thing. And all of a sudden he begins to, he watches it on the radar. He gets a weird feeling. And all of a sudden he begins to experience what we call the hitchhiker effect and starts to have all of these crazy paranormal experiences, including an alien abduction, which is, how do we begin to wrap our brain around that? The idea that this is operating like a virus of some kind. And the only way to do that is, Travis Taylor, the CIA scientist who was at Skinwalker Ranch and on the show, Hunt for the Skinwalker, the whole thing, proposed the idea of quantum entanglement and just said that perhaps this phenomenon has the ability to quantumly entangle itself with the observer in such a way that it can produce these effects after the initial contact.
Yeah, in a way, it seems like that would work because they've really been doing the quantum thing. Is just your mind, when you try to, because they're even talking about like where, you take a particle over here and it could be on the other side of the universe, and it's an instantaneous reaction. Like we do something to this one and it affects that one instantaneously, and that's where they think like this might be the key to space travel. Is because if this is going here on the quantum level, we should be able to go from point to point just like that, and then we don't have the whole where if I travel suddenly, Brian and Chris are dead, and I've aged 2 minutes. Well, hey, that's what happens when you're part of the Illuminati. You have to be taken out.
I think there's quantitatively, you have this consciousness, and you have these crystals in your pineal gland, and you have everybody has their own, basically, if you want a digital ID, because we're made up of material where we're semi-electronic. And I can understand the virus, but maybe it's kind of like, to make it a little bit layman for people, the Q, it's a collective. And when you connect to the collective, it doesn't matter how you connect it, wirelessly, one-on-one, you're in, and it kind of gets into your, digital patterns and get your consciousness. It affects you that way.
Wow. Yeah. Well, in this relationship, it exists between star systems too. So it's very interesting because there's what we call harmonic connection between the star Sirius and our sun. And it was Robert Temple, the scientist Robert Temple, who discovered that there was a discrepancy between the largest pyramid and the second largest pyramid at Giza. And that discrepancy was 0.0136, which is really interesting because in mathematics that describes the particle of Pythagoras, and Pythagoras talked about this fraction all the time. And it happens to be the discrepancy between the mass of Sirius B and our star. And it is perfect the way that they built the pyramids to describe that discrepancy. But what's cool is that there's a tribe in Western Africa called the Dogon tribe who claim descent from the Egyptians. And they claim that every year on December the 23rd, Sirius sends a what they call special signals to our star, and it actually changes the vibrational rate of our star, which then changes what's happening biologically on our planet. And what you're seeing right there is on a astronomical level the same thing that we're seeing on a basic level. This idea that you can quantumly entangle between bodies, whether they be biological or whether they be star bodies, and we're all made up of stardust. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's fascinating how all of that connects.
I'm trying to figure. Do you think that do you think MK Ultra, where it's morphed into, has started to adapt, probably work in that field? Because
Well,
I'm convinced that stuff like the Havana syndrome, that is some of the tech that came out of the MK Ultra research.
yeah, that could absolutely be the case, and you have to remember that they progressed hugely with Project Mockingbird, and their connection to Hollywood, and their ability to use Hollywood to do, what they called progressive programming. So they could literally tell by injecting into certain like movies and television shows, certain scenes and certain like types of sounds and audio, whether or not they would get a certain reaction out of the public if they did this or that.
Like Close Encounters. I mean, there's pretty good evidence that Steven Spielberg was given some information that was not widely known to the public.
Absolutely. And Ronald Reagan, after he saw that, leaned over to one of his people and said, "Nobody will know how real this movie is."
That's crazy.
I got to be honest. I've been screaming from the rooftops for a long time. We already had disclosure, and it's called Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yeah.
That is full disclosure. You cannot, even the guy that was in charge of the program, Hynek, is in it. I mean, and he doesn't violate his NDA. He doesn't violate anything. He just stands there with a pipe. And it's like, why do these people need to like have some guy in the rise for living tell us? Sorry.
Yeah, and Jacques Vallée. We're both in it. Plays the guy, the French scientist.
and so, what comes from Spielberg's doing that movie is E.T.
Yeah,
and there's a lot to that as well.
Right.
Not the who I'm saying, but
right.
Yeah. So, well, the other thing too, I was going to get like with the MK Ultra. This is a kind of live. I'll bounce this off you and see what you think, because kind of like what you're talking about with the quantum entanglement. I've started to think, how much of this do you think is like people that have like the abduction things? What is the chance that some of this might be, I don't want to say that they're not making it up, but it's something that has been implanted into them through because they've been doing all this through all the research. They've got the ability to implant memories, implant stuff into people's saying, to where when you've experienced it, you truly believe that you have experienced these things. It's like Total Recall. You actually believe you've been to Mars. This type of thing. I mean, these things. I'm not telling. We haven't even started yet. He's been there. It's
exactly.
Yeah, but these things, because there's one. Because I've always, people like, they have these abductions, and because the thing, I always like to ask the W questions, the why. One, what would be the reason for an alien race comes across the universe, galaxy, stops, and keeps picking, keeps abducting me, just keeps over and over and over and over and over again. Like for me, it's like the why. What would they be getting? Because it's just like when we do tests, like cows up there, we don't keep knocking them out and doing tests over and over and over again. We take them, we test them, we mark the thing, and we just let them go about their merry way, and we just pay attention, and like observe. So and that's, for me, it's just, I'm wondering if there's a lot of the times like these people that suddenly have these feelings, it's not so much that an alien craft physically took them, but more along, there's probably some black ops, like Montauk Island type thing, where they're underneath there, and they're using this thing, basically, for lack of better terms, beaming this imagery and stuff into my head. And I truly believe that I was just abducted the night before, when in fact, probably didn't even leave the house. But I have all the feelings, and there's a thing, and that's why I said that's one of those they're wondering, because it's like, for the vast quantity I don't know. It seems like there's too many, like when you do scientific studies, there's too many for a sample size. And it's like this mass quantity seems
It is.
overabundant.
It's a huge number of people. And, Richard Dolan, who is one of the most premier ufologists out there, has actually done numbers on UFO sightings, and has even declared that it could possibly be that the mass number of UFO sightings all have to do with abductions, that is their primary routine on this planet. But I think it's fascinating that there was a Roper poll done asking people a series of questions to determine whether or not they were abductees. And it turned out to be a huge number of people, like just millions and millions of people, that could be seen as being abductees. So it's one of those things that's so weird. The Pentagon report actually has, as part of its hitchhiker effect report, talks about an unexpected pregnancy.
Yep.
Having to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have one unexpected pregnancy, we say that a lot of these different pregnancies that abductees are talking about could be in fact real. So you're just
Eddie's saying, like, he just commented about it, and that's kind of what I'm getting. This is something I saw. I can't remember who posterized this thing, that they're trying to work on where they can literally beam the advertising to you.
Oh yeah.
That's
Like you're driving along, no more like billboards on the thing. It's just you're going to go by, and all of a sudden you're going to hear the Taco Bell dong, make a run for the border, and it's like they're going to pay to act, basically. And I'm like, in a way, you're like, wouldn't this be a complete invasion of basically your person? I mean, basically you're getting mind raped by advertising. Yeah, it's just lack better terms. Not making disclaimer. I'm not making light of rapes or anything like that. So, geez.
So imagine if we did get our sponsor, the Dildo Palace. Now you're riding, and they're like,
"Oh my god,
oh no,
no."
This goes back to what I was saying before, that every individual has its own unique identifier. Okay, and then there's genetic, like there. When you have an identifier of 1, 2, 3, I'm just going to say, you'll have subsets based off of the lineage. And that's how you get the identifiers. So they can target anybody they want. It's not this piece of electronics. They can literally dial into you on so many different levels that, I mean, this technology, and from my research, it's been, a lot of this stuff has been back engineered. And of course they use it militarily, and they use it for, deep state, cabal, whatever you want to call it. But I think it's more people, when you have a little kid that's, talking to you and telling, I was just telling before the show started, we know somebody upstate New York whose 3-year-old son came up to her and said, "I love you, Mom, but I know you're not my real mom." And that blew her away. And she said, "Oh, really?" And then she drew, then the child drew and said, "This is my real parents," and drew reptilians.
Wow.
And I mean, in detail. And he goes, she was blown away by it. And he goes, "Yeah, they come and visit me. And what do you do with them?" "Oh, we do studying, and we talk, and they teach me the language." And this happens, and scared the hell out of her. I would scare the hell out of me, although my kids are probably just crazy. But
well, yeah, it's kind of just like a piggyback of what Brian just said. So that's kind of what I was talking about. It's like, do you think there's a possibility that that's just part of the research, is they're doing that, the beaming thing, and one as more of like a mass study of seeing what the psychological effects are on people? Because like I said, not everybody that comes up inducting is coming back saying, "I've got showing implants, I've got marks," like I said, the pregnancies. There's a lot of people that just like in their mind, "I was taken, here's the experience I had," but they don't, like I said, there's a lot of people that don't show signs.
Oh, there could possibly, be 2 different programs happening.
Yeah, because I I mean, it's almost like Santa Claus. I mean, with the people, I mean, it's like, good Lord. I mean, how many aliens are flying around abducting people? I mean, we're talking thousands a night. It's like, this is all right. Somebody start crunching the numbers here. This is almost a factory assembly line system.
Yeah, and either way, it would have to be a factory assembly line system. So
Yeah.
I mean, whether it's our government or whether it's aliens, it would have to be a sort of systematic process that none of us have been able to detect. But
So, do you think they're cloning these people when they abduct them? Because you know how you see somebody and you be like, you look just like John. And if you line them up, they look just alike. So, do you think there's.
I think that's fascinating you bring that up, because with Dr. Courtney Brown's, they're called the farsight.org group. If you look them up, you'll come across some of their videos dealing with reptilians, right? And these are a very talented group of remote viewers. I mean, they are, I think, top of the top. And they talk about how they were able to target and basically see an operational reptilian base here in the United States. And what was weird was that, or really fascinating in some degree, was that on the surface, it looked like a normal town. It was just like with normal buildings and everything. There was sort of a mountainous terrain in the background. They were able to provide a huge amount of description, but in the end, what was happening underneath was truly horrific. People that were being abducted, people that have gone missing, were basically taken to this place, and they were used in a series of experiments. So it's one of those things. If you have time, look up the farsight.org group, because you will be amazed with the amount, the depth of information that they have regarding that target.
Well, and I thought while you were describing that, I was just thinking, like cattle mutilations. If we pretty much think, like this is the testing done. Well, they're leaving behind these mutilated carcasses that have been done. Like you said, for abductions, one of those things is, why abduct? Keep using myself as an example. Why abduct me and do the test on here unless there's some specific genetic markers that they need? Why not take somebody just like a serial killer does? They go for the people that aren't going to be missed. So why aren't those the ones that are being abducted all the time? Because you can do whatever, you can do whatever you wanted, even government wise. You could experiment on these people. Nobody's ever going to know, because there's nobody looking for Bob, who was on the street corner 2 nights ago.
And I talk about that all the time with the cattle mutilation phenomenon. And why not just buy a herd? If you're a government entity, why not just buy a herd, take them wherever you want to take them, experiment as much as you want to experiment on them, and not leave a carcass behind, right? But if you're conducting a scientific experiment and you need specimens that are actually on the ground, feeding, living, breathing in that environment, and you need to see what changes are taking place within them, then you have to take live specimens off of these different fields, and you have to actually see what's going on with them. But the same thing, I think, is happening in the cattle mutilation phenomenon. I think you're seeing two different programs. I think since 1967, with the very first mutilation that we know about, which was actually a horse and not a cow, in the San Luis Valley of Colorado, the government, they got savvy after so many cases occurred. In fact, there was like 287 cases that occurred on one ranch in southern Colorado, like in the late 1970s. That's just a huge number, right?
It's a lot of cattle.
It put the rancher out of business.
Yep.
So, but the government became savvy, and they were like, well, this is obviously being done by something that's non-human. What are they looking for? What are they testing for? And so they started their own operation, and that's why you see different, cattle mutilation cases. Some of them have unmarked black helicopters, and some of them have there she is.
And least we forget the human mutilations that do take place too.
Yes,
I need to find my Jamie.
And
Rogan Scott. He's got Jamie. He's like, Jamie, find that vote. That's what I'm doing right now. I need my Jamie.
I was talking to a couple of people about the human mutilations. No one really talks about it. I did. I'm not shy.
I've got pictures of it on my website. The main one that happened in Brazil.
Yeah.
And, I've got the autopsy report too, by the way. And the guy who did the autopsy reported that in the report, he says, whatever did this to this man was designed to do it.
Yep.
And that when he says that, you have to say, oh my God, because he said it was a machine and that it was designed to do exactly what it did.
Do you think that has anything to do with the stuff that been the mysterious feet showing up in Canada?
Oh God, I don't know. The mysterious feet in Canada is something that intrigues me greatly, but I have no idea where that could be coming from.
Yeah, because they've talked about serial killer and stuff like that, but it seems like a really weird token to leave behind. You just sever a foot and just drop it off. And that's where I was wondering, kind of like the mutilation thing. What if this is one of those things that's kind of like the calling card?
There's also talk about some of these EBEs, which are the clone version of the little grays.
Right.
They go off the ranch and they have a taste for human flesh. I know the reptilians do. So
in an FBI report about Roswell, they claim that inside the craft there were body parts. There were body parts that basically looked to them like a frog that had been worked on in a science class of some kind.
Maybe that's just kind of like with us. Not a whole lot of people eat the chicken feet, so that's basically for them. They're just checking the size 10 tennis shoe, still with a sock and stuff right out the. I got done eating the leg. I'm like, I don't want this foot. I don't want the nails.
Gaming serial killers with a foot fetish.
Give it to the Bigfoot. I don't want it.
Right. Yeah, no, the feet in Canada is a really weird thing, man.
Yeah.
Because wouldn't you expect that they would discover a number of corpses missing a foot?
Well, that's why it was one of those things. It's just kind of like the mutilation thing. It's like it's missing, it's missing its half of its face, stuff like this. What if that's just something like, we got no need for, Bob's left foot this time, so we're just going to, leave that behind, and then, then you got 4 dudes sitting there just going, "What the hell is going on with these feet?" Yeah, I don't know. It's a mystery because that's one of those things too. It's like it doesn't fit any serial killer type pattern because it's not. There's nothing connected. It's not like all Caucasian feet or some Japanese or black. There's no connecting thing to like a common feature. It's just all of a sudden there's a foot.
So is the rest of the body turning up, or there's no case of the rest? They haven't found the rest of the body.
No, it's just the foot.
Just the foot inside the shoe, usually.
Yeah. It's like literally like it got severed off, and there it is. Foot and everything's inside the shoe.
It just keeps washing up on beach. Happens over and over and over again. It's just the craziest thing.
Yeah, it's not like animal predation because it's not torn. These are like they've been surgically severed.
So what if it's one of the how they say if you commit a crime in another country they cut off your hands, they cut off this. So what if it's happening from the other countries? They're just chopping off the people's feet and they're still living, so they're walking around the country with one leg, but the foot is just washing ashore. That could be a thought.
You'd think that we'd see an uptick in
it would
legs.
It would have to happen in Canada for that to occur because.
Right.
because it's showing up in Canadian like waterways. So
Yeah, Derek said that's what it is. The biggest mystery is that precision cut too, because it's not like it's somebody went and sawed it off. I mean, it literally. I mean, we'll use a nerd reference. It's like somebody took a lightsaber and just chopped it off. There it is. There it is.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But
That's insane.
I wonder if there's a commonality in the kind of shoe they're wearing.
That's a good thing. Yeah, because it'd be interesting too. And I was, because I know of. I don't know of any connecting thing like where they're seeing like a common trait.
Right.
Where because I don't think it's always the same foot either. I don't think it's like always right foot or left foot. I think it's just
could be
randomly. A foot shows. I mean, maybe there's some surgeon over there that just doesn't want to pay for medical disposal, and they're just chopping off a foot and then just pitching it out, as they're driving home. I don't know.
I'll take a Big Mac. Hold on. Large fries and a foot.
Yeah, it's. But no,
it's insane, right?
It really is. It's one because I don't know of anything where I've heard. It's been a while since one's washed up too, hasn't it? Hasn't it been a little while now?
Yeah, I have not heard of one in quite a few months, but it was going on there regularly for quite a while. So
the foot serial killer, the foot.
Oh, they've had a couple of good doozies up there. I mean, the only thing I think of is when you said when Chris, when you were talking about, if you do something wrong, the Hammurabi Code, it could be a Middle Eastern thing. I don't know. Could be some kind of law.
It would just be a weird thing. Take the foot.
Yeah, which would be why the footwear would be interesting to see. If they're all
some sandals,
Nike Airs, they're all wearing sandals.
My Google search history is gonna be weird. I'm sitting here up severed foot, severed feet in Canada.
Hopefully the ABCs don't come get your computer.
Severed
foot.
Based off of everything else that I've done, it's like, no.
The FBI has fertile ground on your computer.
ABC.
Yeah, because some of them are
in New Zealand now too. Well, it's been in New Zealand as well.
Wow.
Can you share a picture of the severed foot?
Yeah. Like here's one right here.
As of March 27th, shoes were washing up on the shore of New Zealand. Well, it could be coming from
Yeah, there's one right there.
Yeah.
With the foot inside it. Just bizarre.
That looks like that's a New Balance, I think, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The shoe looks fairly new, so maybe they tried to steal the shoe. And then they were like, oh no, we're gonna chop off your foot in the shoe you stole and throw it in the water.
Could it be something coming out of the water, grabbing like a kraken, pulling them in, eating, and then one of the shoes?
I'm going to give. This is only 2 pictures now, but I might be giving something to Chris. You got, Chris and Jack here. This is another New Balance.
Maybe they're trying to steal them. Those are the lawn man shoes. Those are the multi-use shoes. You do everything in the shoes.
But they're both so far. That's 2 shoes that are New Balance.
Balance, yeah.
So
I'm looking right now. See if the third one that I see right now is a different brand.
Maybe that's what happened at the New Balance factory.
I know there's some Nikes and stuff, but it's just
if you find a commonality in there, then you might have somebody that's.
I'm just getting a whole, the movie The Jerk thing. He doesn't like these cans.
Yeah. Motor oil cans keep getting blowing up. God, that's it. Yeah, so that's
strange things are afoot, Greg. I had to say it.
Well said. Well said.
All right, enough of a Canadian foot talk here. Let's see. All right, but no. So your book. So you've got, like you said, you have the new one that just came out, the Enoch Code. You did Paranormal Planet, American Sorcerer, and Bigfoot Unleashed.
Yep.
Bigfoot Unleashed.
Who had Bigfoot on the leash? That's what I want to know.
Well, I named
Jokes
it.
aside,
I sort of named it that because I unleashed the Bigfoot mystery from all of the sort of diagnosed ideas about Bigfoot in my book. So, and I talk about all of the paranormal aspects of the Bigfoot phenomenon. And I sort of unleashed it from the Bigfoot community because they're so reticent to talk about any of the paranormal aspects of that
Oh yeah.
phenomenon.
Oh yeah.
I'm still more in the camp because I've used the term, like the show Fringe, that we're getting bleed over, and that's why we're not getting the physical evidence.
Right.
Because
And
it's just one of those things. After all these years, after everything, there has got to be, we were bound to find by now
Bigfoot.
something, a carcass, something.
yep.
Here,
And yet they're there. So that we have to figure that out, you know what I mean? And the only way to figure that out is to begin to entertain the notion that there's a more paranormal aspect to these creatures than what we have presupposed.
I mean,
Yeah.
they're not just flesh and blood. Maybe they, as I proposed, and let me tell you something, I've been doing this for a long time, but everything was for me was like, oh, flesh and blood, missing link, until I had a huge experience 20 feet from me. And it went from 20 feet to 2 miles down the road in a split second. And the only thing that you can do that, and we're going back to quantum physics, is if you
Right.
can open up a portal and transport yourself from point A to point B.
Right.
And there was no difference in the vocalization. It was the same everything. Timber, boom, boom, boom. It was the same creature.
Right.
And then if you start looking into it being able to change its physical shape and its molecular shape and change, and energy converting, when you convert energy from one form of energy to another, there's usually a spark or a bump.
Mm-hmm.
There's your orbs. There's your bright lights.
Right.
I mean, there's so many different variables. Problem I have is, just like you, Jack, I don't have a physical Bigfoot where I can go, all right, go invisible now.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And, and a long time ago, I determined that the only way that we would ever be able to prove the species being real is to come up with some sort of bones.
Yeah.
We've got their DNA. They do leave DNA behind, but it's so amazing, the DNA, that our geneticists are left just flabbergasted every time they look at it, and every time they look at it, they declare it has to be contaminated in some way. But it's one of those things where the only way we're ever going to prove it is if we get the remains, and the remains remain elusive.
Yeah.
I mean, there is talk through some people that are elders and older people that there are burial grounds for these things.
Right.
Like an elephant, but they're very protected. They're very clan centric, and they're not going to let you walk into there. We have a spot up in New York State, which we call the Sacred Site. And there are these rock piles that are about 9 feet long, or bare minimum. And it's just out of the ordinary. And we're thoroughly convinced we can have a Bigfoot graveyard here.
It's possible. And I spend most of my Bigfoot time in the field trying to investigate cave systems in southeastern Oklahoma, believing that if there are going to be remains, we'll find them in the cave systems. So
how many bears have people found in the woods?
Oh, almost none.
But isn't that crazy?
Almost
no
none.
bears, no bear remains. You just don't find. Where do they go?
And there's tens of thousands of bears. And the reason why is because the forest just consumes things. When you die, everything eats everything, and it's just gone. Even the bones get consumed by porcupines who eat it for the calcium. So it's one of those things.
Yep.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like most things are going to break it up to get as things break down. But it's just amazing that we haven't, with everybody that's looking. And that's why we've talked to several shows. That's for me. I think the more tech advances, the harder and harder it is for especially like the community like Bigfoot, Dogman, and everything here, because it starts as tech advances. There's got I think that's kind of why the shift has really gone to that interdimensional thing right here, is because that's the only thing that explains why with all the new tech that it's not showing up.
Right.
I mean,
sense. Yeah.
Jack, I mean, you look at an octopus, right? Even scientists to date say there's no reason why these creatures should be on this planet.
No,
there's no rhyme or reason to them, but yet they can change their color, their form, their shape. I mean, everything. It's sick what an octopus can do.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. The mimic octopus is my favorite animal on the planet. And oh my God. Yeah. It can shapeshift.
It's the craziest thing. I mean, it could literally make itself look like a drone, like a fork, like literally. And you would think it's a drone. And then it morphs into something else. It's insane.
Yep.
It's such a great creature. Don't try to have one in the house. They will climb out of your cage.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of eating octopus anymore. I used to like a while ago, but now I view them. I'm pretty sure that, like you said, these things, there's a good chance that people want to talk about aliens being on the planet. This might actually be, the true alien on the planet, one of the aliens on the planet.
They're very tasty.
Could very well be.
No, I don't do octopus. I'll have one as in a tank. I'd love to have one in a tank. But yeah, super smart. I mean, it's really amazing how we don't give credit to the animal kingdom. And even if you want to classify Bigfoot in the animal kingdom, yeah, it looks like a human, but so what? They are so much smarter and they're so much more amazing that anybody gives them credit for.
Here's a meme on how to identify a mimic octopus. Everybody, sir.
Oh wow! Look at that.
like how to identify a mimic octopus. Yeah, they're pretty much like we were talking about, where they just pretty much look like anything.
Yep.
That's true. That's one of the, back to where we were talking about Bigfoot. That's kind of, for me, that's just been one of the biggest things. Like, because I always call myself the skeptical believer. It's for me, it's as tech advances, it's like it's getting harder and harder to explain why we're not physically seeing. Because when you can hear, like you're hearing the knocks, you're hearing the calls and stuff like that, just why more people, if you employ something like a drone, something that goes up, it's like you should be able to, with tech advances, we should start getting these things where we can go up and we should be able to start pinpointing, the exact locations, getting there. And that's one of the things, like with a lot of these shows, like Finding Bigfoot, I'm surprised that they don't do more of this, to where they actually have like the tech team that's out there, where they're doing the technological side. But it's just one of those
spot out there.
Yeah, because I mean, for all we know, it really is a guessing thing, because we don't really know if they're physically grabbing a branch and hitting a tree, if they're smacking it with their hand. If some people have even said like it's that they're doing other things that are making the sounds. But that's one of the things. Just unfortunately, until we have one in some sort of captivity type thing, it's like we don't have that 100% proof that's going to be able to take that complete skeptic and bring them over. And that's what's so imperative with everybody. We've got to figure out how to breach, the people that 100% believe and the people that 100% don't believe. It's like, how do we get these two to meet? And the only way to do that is by embracing scientific study. I mean, that's the only way that you're going to get those hardcore skeptics to even come over.
Yeah. And there's only two ways to prove the Bigfoot phenomenon. And one of them is to have cameras set up in such a way that you can record multiple animals engaged in multiple scenarios over a long period of time in such a way that it can just not be, refuted. And the other way is through remains. And that's really the only two ways. If you could do either one of those things, we could prove the species. And I remind people that, the Bigfoot phenomenon is a problem that no one wants to solve. So even the Bigfoot community wants to solve it because they're so engaged in it every single day that if it ever became solved, it would literally ruin a lot of lives that are built around the idea that they're going to be the ones to solve that mystery.
I think Oklahoma was freaking brilliant. Whoever was part of the tourism, industry, where they had they came up with that whole bounty, for bringing in an unharmed one. People like, you get the debate where people are all upset about this. It's like, do you guys understand the brilliance of this? You have people that are interested in finding Bigfoot, and now you basically have put this artificial bounty out there. This is like saying, if you can do this task, we're going to pay you $1 million. Nobody's ever going to solve it. Right. So it's basically all you're getting is free advertising, and you got people that are going to your state to look for the item. They're spending money. You're raising taxes. You're doing all this. It's freaking brilliant. I know more people need to do stuff like this. I mean, it's just, I don't understand why people don't just understand just the absolute brilliance of this little gimmick they came up with.
And they said you have to capture it alive.
Yeah, that's unharmed, alive. You have to bring it in perfect health, and it's just to get. Yeah, so it just because everybody's like, I can't believe they're going to have them shoot it. No, it clearly says there, it's alive and unharmed. Dead, you get nothing. So,
well, Craig, I got an idea. Why don't we go get all the hair growth serum and just rub it all over your body and let you just look like a Bigfoot, and we send you out in the
Brian bags me, hauls me to Tallahassee to collect the bounty.
We collect the reward, and they'd be like, he tests human. Well, maybe he's a human. Who knows?
He looked the part. He smelled the part.
Part of the problem of getting down to the resolving the Bigfoot issue. I totally agree with you, Jack, about the people that literally would jump off a roof. What do you mean it's over? They have no other purpose in life.
Right.
You know what that do to the economy? It would just kill the forestry industry.
Destroy it.
Kill camping, kill natural parks. It would just destroy so many lives. If you're like, I'm sorry, I can't go over by the geyser. That's a Bigfoot mating ground.
Right.
It would be miserable.
Oh yeah, the endangered species.
Yeah.
Well, I can't take little Johnny and little Susie to the national forest. Well, I'm going to call my congressman and complain about this. Can you imagine the public outcry? It would just be enormous.
Yeah. No, I think it would be. I think there's somebody discovered a Bigfoot in the background back there. The dogs are.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. Hang on.
I know. Mine does it every now and then too, and we always just joke around that there's a murderer out there.
What's that guy with the ski mask doing?
Yeah.
Hey, let's hide in the shed.
Happens to be my neighbor just opening their garage door. That's why we have guard dogs. They let you know the most important things.
It's Old Man Witherspoon by the lighthouse.
So bad.
So it's kind of change gears. Like we'll get back to go back to kind of the UFO things a little bit since we have you on here. How disappointed were you in the UFO disclosure?
I'm not that disappointed actually. What I'm disappointed in is the fact that during UFO disclosure, while it was going on, all of this other world news just drowned it all out. And that's what really kind of got me. But they were on a roll for a while. And they're never gonna just put the bodies on a wheelie and wheel them out in public and say, look at these things, you know what I mean? Because it would just upset too many people and too many apple carts. But they seem to be on a real roll, and whenever they had David Grouse come out and talk to our congressman and tell them, yeah, there were even biologics on board, which is what he was calling them. That was a huge moment.
Which group do you think would take it the hardest? Do you think it would be the religious side?
Yeah, the religious side for sure is going to take it the hardest.
We're just because, well, it's one of those things. It's just there's so many people, like when you talk to them, they're like, no, they're demons. They're all, this is, you get this, you got the hardcore. And that's why I said, when you get to that point to where, if you literally walked up and said, hey, here's Valiant Thor, he's been in the basement this whole time. Here, come say hello to everybody. He comes up there, at that point, everybody where it's just like, it's just God, made us. This is it. There's nobody else. What do you have then?
Right.
You're literally, it's, for like, you're pretty much at that point. You're like, I don't know what to do here. I mean, do they just basically spin?
Yeah, their head starts spinning.
Because at that point, I mean, everything that you've believed your entire life, fervently, has been completely uprooted.
It is. It's what we call an existential moment. It's that moment when everything that you've ever believed before gets called into question. And what do you do at that point? That moment is a defining moment for a lot of people. And, it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because going back to Cliff High and the Webbot, he has predicted that space aliens will make their appearance before April the 3rd of this coming year. So if that happens, then you're going to see a mass change in our society, just a hugely mass change.
I mean, it'd be cool if it happens, but anytime I hear those predictions, I'm just waiting for sorry about that. I forgot to carry the one. It's actually supposed to be July 17th. And you're like, just please don't be one of these things. It's like, come on, happen already. Happen.
No, if they hadn't been right about the whole Hamas thing, I wouldn't even be, that interested in it. But the fact that they predicted that event, he and the not Farsight.org, but the Future Forecasting Group with Dick Algeier, those viewers in combination with Cliff High and his Webbot both said clearly, just a few days before the event, that something world changing was about to happen. Even describing the mushroom clouds and the explosions and everything else that was happening.
Well, that was funny because I saw your post. I had an event in September coming out of the supermarket, and the way I work, it changes now, but boom, I had an image in my mind's eye. So Manhattan with a mushroom cloud over it.
Wow.
And I was like, that was like a split second, like, what the hell was that? And I kept going. And then not long after that, I saw their interview, Cliff's and Dick's interview together. And I'm like, holy crap. I just had this vision.
Right.
I didn't get the date on it, but I just saw it. And they were talking within 90 days. So that's September, October, November. 90 days, right?
Right.
They were spot on.
Yeah.
They're spot on with that whole thing.
They were spot on. And the indications from Webbot are really, really strong about an alien appearance happening pretty soon. So, I mean, if something like that happens, you can just imagine how world altering that would be,
Crazy.
Now, for the people that aren't familiar with it, you guys mind going into that a little bit, like the Webbot and like who these people are? Because like I said, I know not everybody like on our audience and stuff is going to be up to speed on that one too. It's just,
Oh, sure.
I mean, it doesn't have to be a long. It's just basically like a quick thing. It's just kind of give people a little like where to go, do that
Cliff
type of
notes
stuff. I
on
mean,
Cliff
yeah,
High.
yeah. It doesn't have to be it's like all right, back in the beginning, yeah, nothing like that.
I like it. Well, I describe it like this to people. So Cliff High is a guy that's a polymath and a computer genius, and he discovered that the human species was psychic on a mass level, and how he discovered that is a really interesting story. It has to do with a flight that he took into Mexico City and the fact that people kept changing their language right before lightning flashes occurred. And he was already a linguist and a mathematical genius at that time. And he began to realize that there was something to this, that people were sensing a change, and that change was showing up in their speech patterns before it actually occurred. And so when he began to apply that to mathematical algorithms, he discovered that the human species is psychic. And right before we get hit with something, we flinch. And when we flinch, it shows up in our speech patterns worldwide. And those speech patterns can be detected using modern day technology. So he discovered that you can basically pick up things that are about to occur ahead of time, examining the speech patterns worldwide of the human species. So that's how that connects with remote viewing. And remote viewing is, actually a way of picking up information through what they call an information field,
Yep,
Akashic record, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, Katie's saying, I wish that his prediction on crypto and precious metals would hurry up already.
Yeah,
Like a $600 silver.
Actually, also Katie wrote another question. Do you believe that God exists as we know it, or do you think it is much different?
Oh my God! Well, that's a philosophical question, but I believe there's a God that exists. Whether or not that God is being correctly defined through the world's religions or not is another story.
Well, the top two squares are pretty much in alignment.
Yeah.
So like I said, I don't know if it's a giant space spaghetti monster.
Right.
If it's some ancient race, it's the Star Trek Genesis probe type thing. But there was something that created us.
Yeah.
There was the philosopher John Paul Sartre who said, if there be a universal mind, must it necessarily be sane? With the question. And we don't know that question. We don't know the answer to that. Maybe there's a God, but maybe he's an insane God.
All right, bottom squares. What's your take?
Oh, I believe that there is a God, but I don't know. I can't describe it other than there's this. It's a source. It's just an all-knowing energy point, and everybody that comes off of it takes little pieces and bits from it. Hence, made in God's image. Everybody has that, so it's what when you'll find out when you're dead. You'll find out exactly if there's a God, there's an afterlife. I mean, I've seen things.
I like that description.
Right, I've seen things, and I know where I was. I know I was up, not on this planet. I was in a heavenly realm. Everything was like golden. I've never seen like this weird golden place, and there were like steps, like walking into something out of a combination of Egypt and Rome or Greece, and you walk into these buildings, and they're just filled with information.
Oh, wow!
It was the weirdest experience I've ever had.
Wow, that's really cool, actually.
And I just knew
Asgard. You went to Asgard.
No, I knew that one area was like the Hall of Records. I mean, it's the best way I can describe it. It was equivalent to what the Akash record was, and it was so peaceful there. It was bright, but not overpoweringly bright like white light, and everything was golden, but not like that bright Indiana Jones gold, more of a bronzy.
Rose
And it was
gold?
just, which one?
Rose
Like
gold?
a bronze gold, bronzy gold. And it was just, I was looking around, I'm like, okay, did I just go to heaven? And I woke up and it was over. But I try to explain this to people. When you start working on your consciousness and start working on your abilities that everybody has, that ability, it's a muscle. So if you start lifting 5 pounds, you go to 10 pounds. I mean, eventually you're going to build muscle upon a muscle and things are going to be easier. And when you sleep, that's when you get to the highest point where you can leave all the what Cliff would call the metadata, the metadata. You know,
Right.
all the fluff goes away when you sleep, and then you connect to the Kosh record. And at that time, you have dreams, you know, like about snakes eating a donut or something like that. And then you can go into, well, there was Jack, and Jack was driving a Ford Fairlane. It was purple on the outside, white leather seats. We were going down the highway. When you get into that detail,
Yeah.
that's an experience.
Right.
And this dream, this situation was an experience. I'll never forget it.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah. That's
it's
Eddie's thing right there.
really weird.
I wish I could do dream interpretation, because that one would be fun to delve into. A dream that God was a giant eyeball and we were all floating inside of it.
Here's the problem.
So
The problem is when you start having these experiences, this is where it gets really crazy. It goes back into quantum and time. What timeline are you seeing? Are you seeing your current timeline? Are you seeing the one that's parallel to you to the left or 3 over? Or you don't know exactly what it is, but I generally assume it's the timeline.
Yeah,
Where
and
you're
I suspect that during certain dreams we're actually jumping timelines.
100%.
Yep. And
Because things don't make sense
in that other timeline. Yep.
Well, in relationship, there's somebody here I told this to. I haven't slept well since the first week of September because of what was taking place.
Wow.
I wasn't sleeping, and I actually told this person there's not enough time. I had this dream, I mean, constant dreams of like natural disasters, war, the whole thing. The sky was like red, and then you can see the sun like the ring of fire, and you see the solar eclipse, and it was just a ring of fire, and all I heard was, "There's not enough time. We have no more time."
Wow.
That's what was going on. And I just had that similar dream the other night, actually today, waking up from it. And I don't do drugs. I really wish I did because it would make my life easier. But I think that what's happening is people that are call themselves light workers, if you want, they're being tapped. People are waking up now. And I think the timelines are they're merging. And there's going to be a problem.
Right.
And Derek's thing right there. I think that sums up. That's what I believe purgatory is.
Your death experiences or
Florida? No, what Derek's thing where he had those things, but it just where he said it was the eternal loop, dark void of my worst regrets and mistakes, and a constant eternal regret, like where it's just like a loop. And I honestly think that's what purgatory is. It's basically you've got, just like any science fiction show that's done it, where you're just in that constant loop. You've got to figure the way to get out of it is by figuring out how to, basically the atonement, how to get through these things, how to finally work your way out of that loop. And then once you're able to escape that's when the spirit soul is able to move on to its next journey.
It could be a message telling you that you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing and you need to change your life. I don't want to get all, whatever, some kind of like the 300 club on you.
Well, if you guys do, just remember, if we're going to do 300 club, we got to have the band, we got to have the number and stuff going along there to where to call and for your prayer donations.
Yes.
If you want Jack to pray for you, send your donations in present.
Get
option
used to
two.
Oh, don't get me going on this.
Yeah.
Don't, please don't.
I'm hearing a lot of people because of what's currently happening right now. And you see a lot on social media, and TikTok is not the end all be all, but there's a lot more information coming out through certain means than others, and people are lost, and they know something. They want more information. Something's not right about this whole deal, and people are waking up.
Yeah.
And there's a lot not right about this whole deal.
Yeah. There's a lot.
Yeah.
Well, that's why they want TikTok shut down. It's because it's actually getting out more information than they want out.
Well, I got 2 dates out of not from TikTok, but I've had 2 dates.
Are we talking about historical dates, or are we talking about something that you really should be talking to your wife about?
No, 2 dates. No, I wouldn't. If I'm dating somebody, I'm not talking to my wife. To begin with, you got to watch out for 11/16/23 and 11/23/23. Something's happening on both those dates.
Yeah.
And I think the 16th is going to shock the hell out of the world. I think the 16th is an event that's going to just decimate the Middle East. And I think the 23rd may be close to WW3.
Yeah.
After the 16th event. And I hope I'm wrong.
Well, do you guys see it ramping up?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, right now.
And
I mean, like I said, because right now.
The webbot predicts it as well. It says by the late November, there's going to be a huge problem. A huge problem.
It's not just the war problem you have to worry about. It's going to be a global financial catastrophe.
Yep.
I can see it.
Because that's been one of the biggest things about the Middle East is their biggest Achilles heel has always been tech.
Right.
Like I said, they're one of the, they telegraph, if you actually like people show, like if actually people would pay attention, they talk about, because they use the different versions, like, how you could actually trace a lot of this stuff, but that, you look at the rockets that Gaza was firing, these made ones, that's the problem. They don't have that tech side. So they rely on other people to bring the infrastructure to them. And that's one of the things I think with what happened between Israel, they called their bluff. Like I said, they didn't backtrack like most Western countries would do, where like, all right, they just kept pressing. And that's why you saw Hezbollah, Iran, and everybody suddenly just back off. They didn't, because remember, Hezbollah was supposed to have that major thing, that come out, and they suddenly were like, oh yeah, because their bluff was called.
And I think you're going to be surprised. I think that was an absolute lie.
Well, I think so, but that's what I said. Once again, they're relying on other people to do stuff. It's not. That's the thing is, I think that's usually what's been the biggest thing, and that's why I was curious, like your thoughts, if you think that, because it's going to take other entities getting involved, for this to really blow up.
The webbot actually predicts jet fights with Iranian jets. So you're looking at Iran coming in full steam to this whole thing if that happens.
I really do feel that come the 16th or the 23rd, you're gonna have 3+ million fighters coming in over the north into northern Israel. You're gonna have nuclear reactions with their nuclear plants blowing up. And there's a really good shot that the Gerald Ford will be hit with a ultrasonic missile.
Yeah, well, and Israel has nuclear weapons, even tactical field nukes, which
wow, that's crazy.
They can use.
It's beyond crazy. I'm just thankful that the aliens are coming by December. Would you say April 3rd? Hopefully, we won't have to pay our taxes on the 15th. That'd be great.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Sorry,
so you find out that the reason we've been paying taxes is to fund the aliens, and then they're just going to up your rate, sir.
Yeah, damn it.
Yeah, there's going to be no tax break. They're just going to be the money chain. The money hands are going to be right there. It's like, you don't even, we're not even going to pretend it's the IRS anymore. Just come give it to us directly. Gold.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
yeah, it's the before, like I said, as we're wrapping up here, I wanted that luminosity.
Yeah. So the next big thing they're predicting, and who knows if it has something to do with the sun. I'm not quite sure because they've been really close-lipped about what this next one is going to be, but the fact that they're predicting it in line with the same time span that the Webbot's predicting these other big events, to me, really stands the hair up on the back of my neck. So,
Now, do they think it has something directly to do with the sun, or is it something involved, like
I don't know.
proximity of the sun?
I don't know, actually. So, and it's one of those things that I'm still trying to figure out with these guys. We could pay the $50 and actually, watch the remote viewing sessions, but they've been so in line with the Webbot lately, and the Webbot's saying exactly what's about to occur. So it's one of those things where I'm in the mood to just prepare for what's about to happen at the end of November, and whatever that is,
That is definitely looking at glass half full.
Yes.
Right.
There it is.
It's like
there it is. Shorter winter.
It's like it's going to get warmer, and guess what? We're going to have less winter.
Right.
Go take the kids to the beach and pick up some of those single feet that are washing up in Canada.
Right. Well, I'm prepared. I'm prepared.
Look, whatever happens. They always tell you to put your faith in God, whoever your
In God we
is.
trust.
And you know what? You can't control these events. There's nothing you can do to control them.
Right.
Nope.
I think there's a certain amount of people that are being influenced by really dark forces, and they want this done to destroy whatever.
Yes.
So,
yes.
You know what?
And
Hug your kids, drink
plan
your liquor.
for the worst and hope for the best.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who knows? Illumination. Could it be biblical? Could it be, God? Something else that threw me was, the talk about blue beam.
Yeah.
Logically, blue beam comes in and they stop the war in the Middle East, and someone floats down in an image illuminated. It's a little bit crazy. Think about that.
It is crazy. You can do a lot something like that.
And Micah Tank, his like religion, referring to the sun, he's pretty much laid out the thing that it's veiled sun worship, like literally sun worship,
Right.
And so, could be there's a possibility it could be a connection in there, but what would you say? I mean, so we can keep it. I don't care what realm you want to take. What's your prediction coming up in the next probably like 2 months?
Well,
you can take whatever angle you want. It could be UFO.
I in the next 2 months. Well, I think there's 3 major events that are about to occur. Like Sir Brian says, I think that there's a couple of events that are going to happen in the Middle East that are going to perpetuate that to a huge degree. And then I think that that's going to facilitate sometime in the spring exactly what Cliff High says, which is a public display of aliens in some way. That it will literally alter history. In fact, the Webbot says everything after that event becomes ancient history. So you're looking at truly world-changing events that are about to occur.
Think about that for a second. That if there are extraterrestrials or whatever aliens that come and they reveal to the world, you want to know how enlightening that is? It's an enlightening event right there.
Right.
Makes you, and it's a play on words.
Unless it's V, then that's going to be a horrible event.
Right.
Don't go on the ship. You're going to be put in the meat locker. Don't go on the ship. That's
It was a great series, though.
Well, see, that's also predictive programming right there.
Yeah.
It's well, everybody talks about the reptilians. Well, the visitors, are reptilian, and everybody goes on and like they're supposedly, they're.
Oh, it's amazing how right on that show was. That's the CIA's Mockingbird program in effect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Eddie, he has a thing too. So kind of like play on that with what you guys were talking about, like April 3rd. Do you think that could be potentially, the prophecy of the Antichrist coming in and bringing peace? Because that would be one of those things, like the aliens, if they showed up, that would definitely be something that would, hatred of each other, hatred of somebody else would definitely take second place if all of a sudden, like I said, an alien ship just suddenly just comes out of the atmosphere. Most people are going to be like, yeah, what were we fighting about again?
Yeah. Why were we going to work? Why were we doing anything?
Yeah, Independence Day. I think, didn't they have that scene where they're out? I don't want to say it was. I'm not sure, but part of New York. It was like Bronx or the Queens, where they show everybody's playing basketball, and all of a sudden the white like stockbroker guy comes walking up while they're all just standing next to each other, looking up in the sky. I mean, that's pretty much what it is. Nobody cares anymore because there's this giant ship coming through the atmosphere.
Right. Yeah.
I'm sure that Jack will care and I'll care, because that'll be like, okay, let's go in. This is what we've been waiting for.
Let's do it. I know this is our moment.
Go. I hope they're not Pro B2, Kate.
Well, I'm like Cliff High. I keep wondering what they're gonna do when I jack one of those UFOs.
You know what I was thinking about? Like,
interstellar hot,
you guys
carjacking.
You drove that Mercedes to the wrong neighborhood.
This Jack's hood, bitch. I took your car.
Get out of the car, damn it.
Right.
How'd the interstellar war start? I don't know. It had something to do with Jack Cary. That's all we know. That was calling it the Cary incident. That's all I know.
Cosmic carjacking.
You see a UFO and it's going to be bouncing like, it's an El Camino.
Right, exactly. There we go.
Come out and his suit is just buttoned up right there.
What's that meme? It says it's like the reason, it's like we're pretty sure the aliens roll up the windows as they pass by Earth.
Lock the doors when they come by Earth, man.
Damn straight. Straight pimping that thing.
Prison planet.
But no, I don't know. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens, because I don't know. I definitely know, like, if it's something, they always talk about disclosure. It's like, because if anything's people have proven, everybody is panicky. I mean, it would be absolute chaos.
Yeah, it would be absolute chaos and financial disaster. It really would be. So,
all you have to look at. I mean,
until the advertising agencies picked up all the aliens, like, try Metamucil. Can you raise it up a little bit higher, please?
Well, I keep telling people to invest in precious metals, silver and lead.
Same here. So, yes. I like the second one.
For anybody that doesn't know what that reference is.
Yeah.
Just think about it a little longer, and it might come to you. It's also known as freedom seeds.
Yes, seeds and silver and lead.
Silver and freedom seeds.
Silver and gold. I want to be a dentist.
Yep. Nothing like a good handy, pile of Liberty Nuggets. We'll do for you.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, myself, I don't know. I don't get too worked up on it, because I'll just sit there, just weighing it. Like, maybe that's the Libra, being the Libra part, that I'm always scales, I'm always weighing things. I don't get too worked up, because I know everything's in kind of there's a flux. There's always just little things that will happen. Because right now, like I said, there's people that are worried. I don't see anything. It would actually take a foreign actor doing something drastic to flare it up right now, because it seems to be it's localized. It's here. They're fighting. The other parties have we've taken a step back. They're not outwardly pressing like they were. I mean, the only one that I can see right now is arrogant. I can never say his name. Turkey. That's the one that I think is going to be probably the closest thing that's going to be a real big problem for us, because being a NATO ally.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, maybe not for
Because
long.
if he attacks, or isn't somehow involved in an attack on Israel, we're in a really big mess, because we have an ally that we basically have promised we'll defend, and a NATO ally.
It'll destroy NATO.
Yeah, it's
So one of the things I woke me directly up from sleeping last night at about 4:00 in the morning was that the U.S. told Israel, we want you to pause for 3 days so we can get wounded out, get medicine in. And Israel said no and conducted it. And the U.S. started to shoot and stop Israel, preventing Israel from doing any more damage. And then the Israelis started attacking the U.S. based, soldiers and weaponry. And at that point, the U.S. said, we're done. You're on your own. And after that, it was all over.
Right.
They got crushed.
Yeah, it was quite a dream.
Yeah, it was really it was crazy what was going on.
Well, the thing about the pause that's really because I don't know, I just saw the report. Like I said, whether it's been really confirmed or not, that supposedly they found oxygen scrubbers in really some of the humanitarian supplies that were earmarked. Those are what they used for the tunnels.
For the tunnels, yeah.
Look, the bottom line is there are 50,000 kids under the age of 15 that are dead now. People are being bombed. There's no place to go. Not a freaking place to go. It's just got to stop.
Well, that's the thing is, it's like, because Hamas is literally committing, war crimes.
Everybody is.
Yeah, well, that's because the Geneva Convention says you cannot use civilians as a shield.
Yep.
And they are intentionally putting all of their infrastructure underneath hospitals, schools, neighborhoods, and they're firing. And that's one of the things. It's like, who's the bad guy? Who's the real bad guy here? It's like, are you supposed to just keep letting yourself be attacked? I mean, I was having a discussion with somebody where this would be like, your neighbor keeps firing a gun at your house, and just keeps hitting the house, it keeps striking and stuff, but they've taken every homeless person from the area and they've just piled them around their house. And then you're being called the bad guy because you fired back and you took out one of the homeless people. And you're like, and like I said, who's the bad guy? The person that's defending their house. They killed somebody that was on the front porch on the other side, or the person that keeps using them as a shield. Who's worse? So that's the moral thing that the rest of society is looking at.
The big problem is not allowing all the innocent people that aren't firing, aren't in tunnels, allow them to get the hell out of there. Let them get medicine. They haven't had food in a week. They don't drink anything. They're drinking seawater. They have no medicine.
Oh yeah,
no. Supporting any type of terrorist. I'm supporting the peace side. If there's innocent people on both sides that are getting killed and murdered right now, just leave them out of it. You two guys want to have a big other fight? Go do it. Do whatever you got to do.
Well, that's the thing, and that's we were just talking about, and that's the problem is they keep using the refugee camps as bases to fire from.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I said it's a more. I know, but that's the thing. Is like, how do you differ? At that point, and that's one of the things that's kind of like, as everybody. That's the moral dilemma that there is in it. It's like, at what point, it's like you don't want to see this thing, but it, as I said, there's no good answer because they keep using.
Titanic thinking, right? Who went first? Women and children went on the life preservers first, right? Went to the boats. Do the same thing over there in Gaza. Women and children, get out. Let the Titanic, get out. And then maybe we'll have that illumination event, and maybe the aliens will come down and say, cut the crap. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
it's just an insanity. Let's go back to Bigfoot and something else.
Yeah, it's like, hey, like I said, and that's one of those things. It's like they're finding. It's like if we could just get to this point and figure this thing out, because that's the bet. There's not really. As I said, that's the dilemma. It's a passion. It's like nobody wants to see innocents being killed, but it's one of those things. What do you do? I mean, if you're literally strapping refugees to your to your military assets, it's like, who ultimately is responsible? The person that destroys that asset, or the person that's strapping the people to the asset as a shield? That's the thing. It's like, who's the bad? Who's worse? Should be the best way. Who's worse?
The eternal question. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
That's enough moral dilemmas.
Yes.
For right now. No, it's back to cool. So Jack, he's got. I've got to put up your website here before I forget. I had this thing right here. It's like we've been talking about it here, and we just never put it. Paranormal Intelligence Agency.
Sign up for the news and information from Jack's site. He's got great stuff
right there. So you can subscribe. Click that. Subscribe. Get your insider reports. So how long have you been doing this?
Oh my God, for since I was 22 years old, so 48 years now.
Wow.
28 years. Oh, how old am I? I'm 50. So
28?
It's 28 years. It's been a long time. So, and it just keeps getting more and more interesting, it seems like, as the years go by. But all I try to do on my website and with my YouTube channel is collect really good evidence that can be corroborated in some way, and I try to chronicle that evidence. So you're looking at one of the only pictures of an actual skinwalker witch that was ever taken in the late 1800s.
Now, I'm curious about like the photo. Was there? Did they look like that when the photo was taken, or was that something like they looked different, but when the photo was taken, that's what happened?
No, that's what they looked like when the photo was taken. They're wearing a mask of some kind that they created. But you can see like the animal furs wrapped around them and all of that stuff. And people don't realize that skinwalkers are really a Navajo Indian tradition. You know, skinwalkers come from the Navajo Indians, and it's actually a cult of witches that have existed since eternity, really. And they have this ability to actually shapeshift, but they also hold the secrets to opening up that ability. And you're seeing a rare glimpse really into that world.
It's insane what they can do.
Yeah.
Makes me wonder why they even let themselves be photographed like that.
Yeah,
they already killed the photographer.
Yeah, it was one of two photographs, and those photographs are really, really, extremely rare.
Definitely sign up.
There's kind of what we were talking about in the beginning. The brain damage. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. You can see actual images of the damage that occurred.
Yeah, so everybody just take the time, like said, yeah, that's kind of an interesting photograph there too.
Yep. That actually happened in the state of Oklahoma and was sent to me by a witness. Amazing. That's a real Dogman photo.
Mm-hmm. That's more the hyena, right?
Right.
Yeah, the one one that was about 12 feet from me was just sitting there. It was more like a Marmaduke or, the soldier type, but without the viciousness. That was fun. I didn't want to believe in those.
I was going to say, Dogman's going to be like Marmaduke. There's not going to be too many people afraid of that.
Yeah,
you're just going to be walking up. Oh, you're a good boy.
Yeah, right.
No, you're not.
Well, if it's Marmaduke, yeah, you're gonna, there's gonna be just a little, lovable dog.
I really wish this thing didn't exist.
Yeah, so it's Jack. I really appreciate you coming on, man.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
it was a great show. Appreciate you coming on as well.
Totally appreciate you having me. Anytime, guys.
Oh yeah,
And
we
if we have another
definitely-
book, come back on.
Well, we need to actually
Or
have you on
anytime.
to talk. I'm actually gonna buy the book, and So that's Brian. Your normal question. I'll let you ask it.
So if somebody wants to get an autographed copy of the book from you, Jack, where can they go get that?
Well, if you request a copy on my website, I will actually mail it to you. So
Yes.
that's all you've got to do is get on my website, say I would love a autographed copy of your book, and I will send it to you. So
And then just give us a link to pay you type thing.
yeah. You can actually pay me by getting a subscription on the website, but I'll send you the book anyway.
There you go.
All right, yeah, because that like I said, so if anybody that wants a signed copy there, so yeah, definitely need to check them out. The other books you can go to Amazon.
We should have a follow up if come April 3rd or 5th. Have Jack back on. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, if something happens, I would love to come back on. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, that'd be great. Maybe we'll have some footage and
yeah.
There we go.
Nothing happens. It's like, God, I knew this was going to happen. Now it's July 19th. I knew it.
Damn it.
What was that? Who was that guy that kept making the end of the world predictions? And then every time something would happen, it's like he burped and accidentally blew the page out of alignment. And so, he had to readjust his timetable, and it was getting ridiculous.
Well, I got to go get the kids into bed.
All right, man.
Speaking of that, we should have our own prediction show and have everybody in the audience. You want to throw your predictions up. Predictions for 2024. What do you think?
Facts. That'll work.
There you go.
Oh, okay. All right. Here, we're going to officially do it. Are you, how is your availability in April?
Oh, I'm good.
Okay. Because you want to know what day we're having a show on?
What, April the 3rd?
April 3rd.
Oh, let's do it.
Let's do this, and we'll get Chris. You're gonna have to get a camera on your helmet and a Wi-Fi signal, and just drive back and forth where you are. You'll be on the go.
We already got somebody that does that. We got to get a camera in front of their car.
Right.
That would be great.
All right. So I have you in the calendar for April 3rd now.
Beautiful.
You're our first 2024 booking, sir.
Awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. I was just looking. I'm like, let's see what the date is, and I'm like, get out of here. It's actually physically the Wednesday the 3rd. We're gonna have to do it.
Yeah, I'm excited. Let's do it.
I'm gonna give you the applause too. Thank you for coming on. There's the applause.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, they said one quick question. He said, check out the Northern Lights over Southern Europe from the other day, especially in Bulgaria. It was crazy.
The red stuff, red going nuts.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. And then the other thing too, like for the predictions, this is, like a lot thought, just like get you guys quick thoughts. What do you think that part of the problem with some of these predictions is about like end of times and stuff has to do with that theory that we have lost the lost years where the calendar has been inflated?
Well, that's interesting. I think it has more to do with the fact that observation changes outcome, and we're getting so much better at observing things that are about to happen. So with our ability to share information around the world, people become much more aware of different things that are happening, and every time they become aware, it alters the outcome of that awareness. And the same thing can be shown in particle physics. Anytime that they observe a particle in physics, it changes its behavior. And so you can't really measure a particle when it's being observed, which is the truly amazing thing. And material events are made up of particles.
Yeah, I love that experiment, that thing when you do, just like my last little thing was this: you take a box, you put a glass jar in there. It's right. Like You tell everybody, it's like you shake it. You're like, what's in here? We know it's a glass jar. Bam, I slam it down. Okay, we know it's a glass jar. We know it's broken. But what the physical state of that jar is will never be realized until you open the box.
Right.
All those pieces have not physically manifested the shape that they're in, how they broke, all this stuff until you physically observe it. And that's when the state of that jar is created at that moment.
They've done experiments recently with protons and stuff where they're shooting protons through a piece of steel. And they're doing these experiments where people are actually witnessing it, and they got it through the peripheral. And when you're not head on witnessing it and seeing it your own eyes, what's actually happening, instead of the two dots going the same thing, one of them's going around it.
Oh, wow.
It's the cool. I'll send you the article. It's
I would love
the craziest thing in the world.
Wow.
It's not the name of the theory.
Here, I'm trying to find. Yeah, here. This is basically. I found the image here. I'm trying to. Oh, come on! I need one that's not going to be small. It's because there's some memes about it too, where it's like you look at them and it's really cool. It's just like unobserved. They're like all over the place, and then as soon as you observe it, it's like boom, two straight lines.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, I'm trying to, like I said,
I think it was in Scientific, not Scientific America. Maybe it was Scientific America. It was. I get all these different, because I did just before all the quantum and all that stuff. I was studying physics, and I was studying astronomy, and thought about being an astrophysicist, and then said, well, I won't be eating much.
Right.
I'll be eating tuna out of a can.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to bring up this real quick. I'll just bring up the screen so that everybody can.
So I get these crazy things every once in a while, and that was just. So
like this picture.
Some things though.
This picture right here, the one on the top right, kind of shows it. It's like the particles are out there. The one all the way to the right is what is observed, non-observed. It shows like this, and then as soon as it's observed, it coalesces into two lines, like it's shown over here. You have one thing, but as soon as it's observed, you have two distinct lines of the particles.
Right.
It's really, this observer effect one right here. You can see where it's just when you're looking, it's coalesced, but when you're not, it's in a wave.
Right.
It's the most insane thing to wrap your mind around.
And I think the same thing is happening on mass material events that are taking place. So,
so that's one of the, man, when you start getting into the quantum area, is just, oh man, there's times it makes your head hurt.
Yep.
Oh yes, it does.
Because there's times it's like, basically, I love the line. Anybody that tells you that they understand quantum mechanics doesn't know a thing.
Doesn't know quantum mechanics.
It's like anybody tells you I know what's going on. No, they don't. This is the wild west of science.
It's Fight Club for science. Yeah, that's what it is. Right. And we don't talk about Fight Club, so don't talk about quantum physics.
All right. Well, hopefully we're all in the same condition we are on April 3rd, and we can have a good laugh of how stuff didn't happen.
Yeah, hopefully.
Either that or some of us are going to go, damn, my ass hurts.
Or we'll have an amazing show where we're like, yep, we call it.
It'll be like that Saturday Night Live skit where it showed the difference if Gore had won and if, with Bush. It showed Gore, had all the computers behind him. It's now, all the robotic. And then you had Bush popping up. Everything's burning down. He's like, man, this is hard. Yeah. So we'll see what version shows up.
That's great.
All righty. We delve more into the politics. We delve more into the politics side than we normally do.
Well, hit that video and say good night.
That's right. All right. Well, everybody have a good night. Like I said, thanks for watching. Thanks for your support. Like I said, go to ERT Radio. thank the sponsor there. And like I said, everybody, just once again, we will see you next week. Jack, thank you. Everybody go to paranormalintelligenceagency.com. And like I said, support them there. Check out the books, pick those up, make his day, subscribe, get all that information from him. That's what he's there for. So, all right. We've been talking a little bit about AI, so why don't we just go out with the AI here? There we go. Good night.
Good night.